Are you sick of counting calories, feeling deprived, and then binging? I will show you how to be thin for life without needing more willpower. I will show you how to get out of this cycle by developing a thin woman's mind, and then the body follows. The change is permanent, and being thin becomes just who you are. That is where the magic happens, because then it is effortless. I'm ready. Are you? Hello, friends. So, I'm going to say this before I forget because I keep meaning to ask you an amazing favor. Can you leave a review if you're loving the podcast? It helps other people find the podcast. And if you heard me on other episodes, I have a goal to help 1 million women break free from food forever. And this podcast is a really big part of that. And so if you leave a review, it just helps Apple and other platforms promote the podcast and kind of suggest it to other people. So thank you in advance. Today, I want to talk to you about doing hard things. So I read a lot of books. I've always been into reading and kind of gone through different phases of my life, but kind of when I'm learning something new or when I'm really into something, and the topic kind of changes over time. Like it started with weight loss, and then it was into really diets, and then it was really the science of food, and then it turned into really the emotional well-being that drives overeating and the mental health aspect of overeating, and then binging, all of that. And then for me, it kind of turned to birth and to parenting, and then to general mental health and to entrepreneurship. And so I've always been really into reading books. And then when I read about a particular topic, I read like a lot of books. And so lately I have just noticed, in particular, when I've been really reading books about entrepreneurship and really rewiring your brain when it comes to that aspect of my life. And I've always been really fascinated by successful people, and successful people in all areas of life: money, weight, marriages, parenting, having a home birth, all of it. And something that is really, I feel like I'm just noticing all over the place by all of these successful people in various areas is that they all talk about doing hard things. They all also talk about that there is no destination in our life. And I use destination in quotes, as in like, oh, well, once I get there, then life is just totally easy. I never have to do anything hard ever again, and I can just coast forever. And I think so many of us, self included, still working on it, but have this idea that once we get to X, Y, and Z place, once we accomplish this thing in our life, then we're like, good, forever. Don't need to work on it anymore. I won't have any more problems. And I was reading a book by Steve Chandler, and he talks about them as projects. He's like, I don't even think about them as problems. I like to think about kind of things I'm working on as a project. And as I read it, I was like, I love that because I love a good project. And when we think about there being no quote unquote destination in life, that once we get there, we don't ever have to work towards anything, that nothing else will ever be hard, it might be a little devastating to think about. I was trying to think of the right word. It might be a little disappointing to think about it in that way, but also I think it's so liberating. It takes away, especially for me, the rush that I have to do it and I have to do it right now and like, let's go. And brings for me a sense of peace in the fact that I will always be working on something in my life. So we achieve success in one area and then another reveals itself. Have you ever noticed that? That we think, okay, well, once I get here, then I'll be good. But then our brain always finds something else to work on. And for those of us that are really high achieving and we like to be successful and like take on big projects and do hard things, that we're always doing one thing and then we do another thing and then we do another thing and then we do another thing. And I never really took a step back to look at this for myself. And don't worry, I'll bring it back to losing weight. that we continue to achieve something, we continue to achieve success, and then we decide we're going to work on something else. And so even if I think back to kind of when I was younger, right, it's like I have this problem or project of, and I'm going to use the word project. I just like thinking about things as projects, that I have this project of deciding where I'm going to go to college. And then, okay, great. I solve for that project. I've decided, I start, and then I have a project of deciding what I want to do in college, what I want to study, and what I want to do for what I thought at the time was the rest of my life. But right, lo and behold, here I am in my 30s, not doing what I thought I was going to do. And so then in college, I decide, all right, I'm going to be a CPA. That's what I'm going to study. And then I have the project of doing well in those classes, in those courses. And then I have the project of studying for the CPA exam and deciding what firm I'm going to go to. And then I get to that firm and then I decide, okay, now I have the project of being an amazing employee and learning a lot and progressing. And then I had the project of, for me, it was I'm going to make 6 figures. That was my next project. And then I made 6 figures and I was like, okay, now I'm going to make multiple 6 figures. And that was my next project. And I just move from project to project to project, not because I have to, but I just genuinely really like moving on to new projects. I like to solve for a problem, solve for a project, and then move on to the next one. And the coach I work with, she actually talks about, especially in her business, she talks about something she's solving for, like a really complicated jigsaw puzzle. And I love thinking about it this way too, and that she's just always trying to figure out the pieces. Nothing's ever gone wrong. She's just always figuring out what piece fits where. And then she knows, because she also loves doing hard things, that once that jigsaw puzzle is complete, then she'll move on to the next one. And so when I think about this with weight, when I lost weight, when I became naturally thin, it went something like this. First, I would lose weight and I would lose some and put some back on and lose some and put some back on and kind of go through that cycle. And then even when I got down to be very thin, my mind still felt like it obsessed about food. So then even though I put a little bit of weight back on after that, my next project was to stop thinking about food all of the time. It was to become naturally thin in the way that I am now. And then when I kind of solved for that project, then I started tackling projects at work. My goal to make 6 figures came in so strongly after I had really felt like I found a way to stop thinking about food. I found a way to stop obsessing about this. And that compounds over time. And I'm going to talk to you about, it's something I call the desire compound effect. I will talk to you more about that next week. But when we kind of focus in on one project, take that on, achieve success, and then move on, our desire and our focus and our self-confidence, it all starts to compound with everything we then take on as a new project. When we think about losing weight, I want to offer to you, what if you just thought about it as this is just the project I'm working on right now? I'm working on my mind when it comes to food. I'm working on how I see myself. I'm working on how I see food. I'm working on my relationship with food and just thinking about it as a project in that way. We want it so badly to just be over because we believe that when it's over, we're at this destination where we don't struggle with this anymore, which is true. But also, then we will find another project. That's just inherently where our brains like to go. They like to be solving for something. They're actually designed to solve. And when we think back to successful people, I am fascinated by successful people, right? Our culture, I believe, is fascinated with successful people. As humans, we love seeing other successful people in many areas of our life, right? Whether it's money, weight loss, relationships with partners, with our parents, with us as parents, certain religions. We are so fascinated by successful people. Why is that? It's because they did something that we perceive as being hard. So ask yourself this question. If you think about someone that you really admire, someone that you look up to, someone that you view as successful, what about that do you admire? It's because they did something hard. I was like, I'm going to ask you a question, but then I'm going to give you the answer. But we don't wake up and think, wow, I really look up to this person. They've been divorced 5 times. They barely make ends meet. They haven't had a job in 5 years. They watch TV. They drink all day. They say they want to lose 100 pounds. I cannot wait to be that person. So successful, right? We don't look up to those people. Not that there's anything wrong with that person. We just don't admire them. We don't read books about their life. We don't try to emulate them. They're not the example we're chasing after. For most of us, especially if you're probably here by now, that's not you, right? Because here's why. We all know how to be her. If we want to get married and get divorced, barely make ends meet, not hold down a job, not have any money, drink all day, eat all day, feel like we can, never get out of this cycle, we all know how to be that person very easily. We could all do that if we wanted to, but we don't genuinely want to do that, even though our brain might tell us it does at times, because we're trying to do something hard and it's just like, can we just be done with this yet? But we don't actually want to do any of that because we're hardwired to actually want to challenge ourselves. We're hardwired to do hard things. So what if you let becoming naturally thin just be the project you're working on right now? What if you let it be hard? What if you let it be something that was going to challenge you and to grow you? Because deep down, you know that, right? I think we tell ourselves this lie sometimes of, well, but it's food. It should be easy. It should be innate. It should be easy for me to be naturally thin. Like, this is how we evolved as humans. Like, look, cave people didn't struggle with this. And I think if thinking all of that serves you, then keep on thinking all of that. But I think for many of us, it doesn't serve us to think about food and becoming naturally thin in that way. Because the life and the society and how we've been culturalized and how we view ourselves and food has changed from where we used to be. Not only has our food source changed, not only are we marketed to constantly with food that doesn't serve us, and then we're taught that it shouldn't be something we need to do, right? Because we hear messages of it should just be natural. And I do believe being naturally thin is a natural way of being, but I believe it's a skill. It's a skill because of what we've experienced in our lives up until this point. And it's a skill because it goes against kind of what we've learned, the behavior that we've learned over years and years and decades, and what we've seen and what we've experienced, and how we use food, and our inability for so many of us to manage our emotional well-being and to be able to be with ourselves in a way that we don't want to escape from. So I believe it's a skill. And what if, just like any other skill, you knew it was just going to be hard and you know you can do hard things? So what I want you to imagine is getting on the scale and seeing your goal weight. What would you be thinking? And really, I'll let yourself imagine this. So if you're driving, don't close your eyes. But if you can just close your eyes for 60 seconds, imagine stepping on the scale and seeing your goal weight. And the process to get there, you didn't have to go through restriction and deprivation, and you're there and it just feels right. Ask yourself, what would I be thinking? When I ask people this, most often they will answer me something like, I did this. I'm so incredible. This is amazing. I'm so freaking proud of myself. So if you have some variation of those thoughts, and even write down what that thought is for you, if it were easy, you would not be thinking those things. So we know it will be hard. And that's why we want it so badly. We know it's going to be hard. That's why we feel proud and we feel accomplished and we feel so amazing, is because it was hard. And hard doesn't mean deprivation, more self-control, more self-discipline, white-knuckling our way there. Hard means doing the work internally, going through the discomfort of shedding our current beliefs and thoughts around food that don't serve us and developing the ones that do. That is no joke. That is hard work. Hard work doesn't just mean sweating and grinding and white knuckling, because all of that type of quote unquote hard work isn't actually doing the hardwiring, the rewiring of your brain. Like, that work is hard. So when I remind myself that my goals are hard, it brings me instant relief. And ironically, it stops feeling so hard. It's like, yeah, I expected it to be hard, and it's hard. Big surprise. So then when it feels hard at times and I remind myself, oh yeah, not only did I know this was going to be hard, but I deep down actually want it to be hard. We're hardwired as humans to want to feel accomplished, to want to feel proud, and that only comes when we do hard things. If I said to you, hey, get up, go for a walk for 30 seconds and come back to your house, would you be like, yes, I'm feeling so proud right now? And actually, maybe this was a bad example because I hate running, but you can use it for example's sake. So if you get up, walk for 30 seconds, come back to your house, are you going to feel super proud of yourself? Maybe a tinge, but probably not overly proud, right? But if you trained and trained and trained and you ran a marathon, you'd feel so proud of yourself. Why? Because it was hard, because you knew it was going to be hard, because you had to literally become a different version of yourself. You had to change how you thought, right? In order to train and to get to that place where you can run a marathon. Now, I know this. I trained for a marathon, did not finish it, but my point is we do hard things because we know they're hard. And so this is why I think it's so important to really understand why you want to get to your goal, why you want to become naturally thin. Because then telling yourself, well, I know it's going to be hard, but the reason why I want to do this is so powerful for me, it doesn't even matter that it's hard. When I want it to be easy, but I think it's hard and it shouldn't be, that really is when you suffer for no reason. And I mean mentally suffer, right? When we say to ourselves, oh my gosh, this is so hard, it's like it's hard and it shouldn't be. Not only is it hard, but I thought this was going to be easy. And I think telling ourselves that, yes, it's hard, it's supposed to be hard. I knew it was going to be hard. And guess what? I'm freaking baller. I can do hard things. Like, that's what I think about myself sometimes. Like, look at all of the hard things I've done before. I can for sure do something new that's hard. So what would be different for you if you just let it be hard? You will lose the weight. You will put this behind you. And then you think you will just coast through the rest of your life. So often that is what people tell me. Well, when I lose the weight, like, then I'm good. Life is good. I won't ever have anything else I need to work on. That just isn't true, and it doesn't serve you. And guess what? You won't even want to just coast when you become naturally thin and put this behind you. Your brain will find the next hard thing it wants to do. And every time you get to take with you the self-confidence and the accomplishment and the feeling of proud because you lost weight, because you are naturally thin, onto the next hard thing you want to do. It kind of becomes like this, I don't want to say obsession of like taking on a new hard goal, but it starts to become something that is so much more fun and enjoyable. Not only because I know there's always going to be something else ahead of me, there's always going to be something else I'm working on that's hard, but I get to take the compound effect of all of the other hard things I've done with me into the next hard thing I'm going to do. And so what if you thought about it in that way, that this was just the project, it's going to be hard, and it's going to be so much more fun that way. It's just what I'm working on right now. And then I know when I'm done, I'm going to have so much confidence, not because of what I look like, not because I've lost weight, but because my confidence comes from my ability and trust in myself to be able to do something that's really fucking hard. And then I get to take that and go do something else that's really hard. And it's just the project that I'm working on right now. I love thinking about life in this way, that it's always going to include some goal or something that's challenging and something I'm working on that's hard. And if we're always going to be working on something, you have the option to have it either be the same thing over and over and over again, or you can decide to change it up by taking something head on, reaching your goal, and then taking on a new challenge or a new project. Our life will always have problems, challenges, a project we're working on. Think about your life. At what point was there a year, even a month, that you didn't have a project you were working on in your life, that you didn't have something you were trying to reach, a goal you were trying to attain? For many of us, that's been our weight for like our whole lives, right? But we can either decide, do I want it to continue to be my weight? Do I want it to continue to be my relationship with food, my relationship with myself for the rest of my life? Do I want that to be the project I'm always working on? Or do I want to take this project head on? I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be challenging. I know I'm going to feel really proud and accomplished when I have solved for this project, and then I get to change it up and take on a new project. For me, I will take a new project over the same ones over and over and over again 100% of the time. I love working on a new project. I love focusing on one thing, deciding that's what I'm going to work on. It's going to be hard. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be all of the things. And then when I accomplish that project, then I'm going to take on the next one. So for you, pick one project you're working on. If it is your weight, pick your weight. Get clear on what you want and why. Let it be hard, and know the reason you will feel so accomplished and so proud at the end is because it's hard. My coach, along with apparently the last 5 books I've read, and maybe just I'm noticing it over and over and over again in all of the books, all say the same thing. Successful people know there is no destination you are arriving at in life. You will continue to take on something else. Your brain will continue to want to find another challenge, to find another project. So let it be that way, and let it be hard. We love accomplishing hard things. You actually like hard things. That's why you want to accomplish it. Because the feeling of accomplishment comes with doing hard things, and your brain loves feeling accomplished. You got this, my friend. I will talk to you next week. If you are ready to really take this work to the next level and completely change your relationship with food and how you see yourself and lose the weight for good and become naturally thin, put this struggle behind you for the rest of your life, I can help you get there. I work with women one-on-one, and we really take this work to the next level so that it becomes permanent and it becomes just a new version of you. Working with me is the last thing you will ever need to completely change your relationship with food and how you see yourself, so that you can go through the rest of your life free from this. You can schedule a consultation and learn more by going over to lauradixoncoaching.com and click on the Work With Me tab. Have an amazing day, my friends.